In Palestine, the Israeli genocide in the Gaza Strip continues after 408 consecutive days of attacks that killed nearly 44,000 Palestinians. In Honduras, the government is advancing in recovery efforts after Tropical Storm Sara, which left at least 2 deaths and over 100,000 affected people due to the flooded communities. And in Brazil, the G20 Summit kicked off amid international divisions due to sanctions policies, Israeli aggressions in the Middle East, and the climate crisis. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from TeleSUR Studios in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin with the news. Stay with us. In Palestine, the Israeli genocide in the Gaza Strip continues after 408 consecutive days, killing nearly 44,000 Palestinians. According to local media, in the last 24 hours, Tel Aviv troops killed at least 76 Palestinian civilians and injured 158 others. The Gazan Health Ministry warns that these figures could be even higher as many of the victims remain under the rubble that could not be removed. Local health authorities confirmed that the number of Palestinians killed by Israel since October 7, 2023 stands at 43,922, while 103,898 people have been injured. The Israeli regime continues its expansionist policies at the coast of land grabbing and destruction of Palestinian homes in the occupied West Bank. On Monday morning, bulldozers of the occupying forces demolished several buildings in Raft town, northwest of Jerusalem. Local sources reported that the Israeli troops demolished a garden, a hut, 2 football fields, a photo studio in the Beit Surik area. In addition to these actions, the constant harassment by the Zionist forces and settlers seek to advance in the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians and to expand illegal settlements in the occupied West Bank. In South Sudan, the Ministry of Health is on alert for a possible cholera outbreak. According to the organization Doctors Without Borders, the conditions for a cholera outbreak are in sight following the continuous arrival of numerous refugees from neighboring Sudan and the precarious conditions in the settlements of war-forced migrants. The non-governmental organization reported in a statement the increase of cases in the towns of Renk and Malakal in Upper Nile State. Specialists warn that the current situation worsens the conditions to sanitize the outbreaks of the epidemic in Upper Nile State, so it called for an immediate vaccination campaign. In Gabon, authorities announced the new constitution had been overwhelmingly approved in a referendum, marking a new chapter for the oil-rich African nation. The new constitution sets out a vision of a presidency with a maximum of 2 7-year terms, no prime minister and no dynasty transfer of power.
For the yes, 416,983, which corresponds to 91.8%, for the no, 37,302, which corresponds to 8.2%. It should be noted that the observed participation rate is 53.54%. Thank you.
And now we have a short break coming up, but first remember you can join us on TikTok at TeleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates and more. We'll be right back, stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. In Russia, the Ministry of Defense reported this November 18th that 59 Ukrainian attack drones were shot down on the day in various regions of the southwestern part of the country. According to the report, of these unmanned aerial vehicles, 45 were intercepted in the Bryansk region, 6 in Kursk, 3 in Volgorod, 3 in Tula and 2 in Moscow. Last month, the United Kingdom and the Netherlands, NATO members, had promised to deliver new batches of drones to Ukraine. In recent months, Kyiv's drone attacks on oil refineries and fuel depots in Russia have also intensified. And after Washington authorized Kyiv to use long-range weapons against military targets inside Russia, the Chinese government reiterated its call for a peaceful solution to the Ukrainian war.
China's position on the Ukraine issue is consistent and clear. An early ceasefire and a political solution serve the interests of all parties. The most urgent thing is to cool down the regional situation as soon as possible. China has always encouraged and supported all efforts conducive to a peaceful resolution of the crisis and is willing to continue to play a constructive role in the political resolution of the Ukraine crisis in its own.
The President of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, condemned that the governments of the United States, the United Kingdom and France allow Ukrainian head of state Volodymyr Zelensky to use dangerous long-range missiles to strike Russia.
You should know that while we are here, the government of the United States, France and the United Kingdom, the Holy Alliance of Evil, they have just approved the criminal Nazi Zelensky in Ukraine to use his missiles and long-range rockets to attack our sister nation Russia. I am telling you, it is a defining time. I could tell you that the US imperialism has entered madness stage, the revenge stage. Let's take care of Venezuela. Let's take care of our land, of our peace.
In Honduras, the government is advancing in recovery efforts after Tropical Storm Sara, which left at least 2 deaths and over 123,000 affected people due to the flooded communities. Authorities reported that since Sunday there have been over 8,000 evacuees as a precaution in the hit areas. In addition, they revealed that rising rivers forced the closure of several paramount bridges that communicate the capital with other cities to avoid possible disasters. Likewise, they declared the capital to be on maximum alert for current downpours across all Central America. In India, New Delhi dawned with a severe level of pollution, forcing its government to implement extreme emergency measures, such as the suspension of classes and industrial activities. From daybreak, fog reduced visibility to minimum, causing flight cancellations and delays at railway stations. The air quality index in the Indian capital stood at 485, a reading classified as severe plus, and which has serious health implications. Authorities have therefore implemented stage 4 of an anti-pollution plan, the strictest of the national protocol, which limits commercial and industrial activities, establishes online classes and teleworking to avoid exposure. In the Philippines, authorities reported at least 8 people dead following the passage of tropical storm Mangi. This weather event reached wind gusts of 135 kilometers per hour, resulting in several destroyed infrastructures, downed power lines, blocked roads, landslides and floods. Government authorities reported that 7 of the victims were killed by landslides north of the city of Manila, and another died in the municipality of Catanduanes. The Philippines faced the consequences of the weather crisis with a 6th storm in less than a month, which left more than 680,000 people affected. In Cape Town, scientists are working hard to safeguard the African penguin as there are just about 10,000 breeding pairs left in South Africa and Namibia, which implies having lost 97% of their population.
What can we do at a colony level to prepare for that? We undergo and we put in disease surveillance, and that is particularly around avian influenza, and what can we do to reduce the risk of that. And then we also need to manage predators as well. So there are many predators of African penguins, and this also has a very large impact, and so we really need to look at it holistically. And then we also conduct a lot of science together with collaborators to better understand their movement, the threats at sea, the threats on land, and try and make recommendations for how we can safeguard the species and prevent it from becoming extinct.
We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at TeleSUR English, there you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. Venezuela's Vice President Delcy Rodriguez revealed that at least 11 people have been arrested in connection with the recent attacks against a facility of the state-owned oil company PDVSA. In this regard, Rodriguez informed that a series of terrorist attacks have been plotted against the country, among them one that took place on Sunday, November 10th, when some individuals threw a grenade at an oil production field in Zulia to prevent the fuel production. The Vice President also informed about a second terrorist attack that occurred on November 11th in the gas pipeline of the Muscar operating complex in Monagas state, which caused great damage to the physical structure of the key complex, which generates more than 80% of the country's gas production.
Responsibility had already been determined. 11 people responsible for these criminal acts have been arrested and are under investigation. There is a foreigner on the run. He left the country the same day he carried out this fraudulent maneuver that caused the explosion in this gas distribution center.
In this context, Vice President Delcy Rodriguez also assured that the attacks did not affect the crude going to Paraguaná refinery.
Exactly 1 week ago, on Sunday at 7:30 in the morning, Sunday the 10th of November, 7:30 in the morning, a grenade was thrown in the north dock of the state of Zulia in an oil and gas production field, which was intended to prevent the supply of the diet to the Paraguaná refinery complex for the production of fuel. Fortunately, thanks to the security mechanism in place to prevent terrorist attacks and destabilization actions, this device did not detonate. It did not affect the diet, the crude oil, the gas that goes to the Paraguaná refinery.
In Brazil, the G20 Summit kicked off amid international divisions due to sanctions policies, Israeli aggression in the Middle East, and the climate crisis. World leaders gathered in the city of Rio de Janeiro for the G20 Summit, which runs until November 19th. Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva delivered the opening remarks, introducing the proposed Global Alliance Against Hunger and Poverty, an initiative that seeks to eradicate these issues at the global level. Those present at the event will discuss a measure that could impose a tax on the countries with the highest incomes on the planet, with the aim of protecting the environment. They are also expected to discuss global conflicts, among them the Israeli aggression against Gaza.
It falls to those gathered around this table to tackle the urgent task of ending this scourge that shames humanity. For this reason, we have made the launch of a global alliance against hunger and poverty the central goal of Brazil's G20 presidency. This will be our greatest legacy.
On the sidelines of the G20 Summit, Chinese President Xi Jinping held a bilateral meeting with British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, saying that the two countries both shoulder the responsibility of responding to global challenges.
The world is currently entering a new period of turbulence and change, as permanent members of the United Nations Security Council and major global economies. China and the UK shoulder the important task of promoting the development of their respective countries, as well as the responsibility of responding to global challenges.
In Argentina, Christina Fernandez led her first act as president of the Justicialist party, in which she defended the role of the state in the midst of the neoliberal onslaught carried out by Javier Milei's government. In the city of Santiago del Estero, the former president addressed thousands of supporters on the occasion of the Peronist Militancy Day. It was the first appearance after the conviction against her by the cassation chamber in the Vialidad case, which will be appealed in the Supreme Court. During her speech, Christina Fernandez affirmed that they are trying to ban her and highlighted the achievements of her government. At the same time, she summoned other political forces to face the adjustment policies promoted by Milei's administration. In Ecuador, the Minister of Environment, Water and Ecological Transition, Inés Manzano, informed that the country will reduce daily power outages from 12 to 8 hours after Colombia began selling energy to the nation on Sunday. The minister highlighted that thanks to the recovery of 65% of the Colombian reservoirs, 420 megawatts had been acquired on this first day, although the transmission grid to Ecuador has a limit of 450 megawatts. In this context, Manzano explained that rainfalls are expected on November 19 and 21st in the basin of the Codo Sinclair hydroelectric plant, which will allow lowering the time slot of service disruptions. According to the minister, in December, the time slot could be further reduced depending on weather conditions. In Venezuela, the first edition of the first International Poetry Book Fair was held in Caracas from November 13th to 17th. This unprecedented event gathered poets of different nationalities who shared their creations and experiences with the Venezuelan audience, bolstering cultural exchange.
The first opening was attended by prominent global personalities of culture and politics. The Venezuelan Vice President for Communication, Culture and Tourism, Freddy Ñañez, presented his new book, Sobre Blanco, within the framework of this event. For 4 days, the Rómulo Gallegos Center for Latin American and Caribbean Studies, CELARG, has become a meeting point for poetry lovers. Writers from Argentina, Azerbaijan, Bolivia, Colombia, Cuba, Chile, Ecuador, Peru, and many other countries share their works with the Venezuelan audience. On the poetry event, attendees enjoy a variety of activities such as poetry recitals, writing workshops, book presentations, and art exhibitions. These activities seek to bring poetry closer to all audiences and promote cultural exchange among nations, making Venezuela a literary meeting point in Latin America. This book fair not only celebrates poetry but also aims at inspiring new generations of writers and readers by bringing literature closer to the community and offering a space for cultural exchange. The encounter consolidates itself as a key event in the country's cultural agenda.
We have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram and TikTok as well. For TeleSUR English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.